All right. Peace and wellness, family. I hope that y'all are well and happy and whole and all that good stuff. I am the Queen Poe, and the intention for this video is for us to discuss our upcoming full moon in Gemini that is peaking on December 15th at 4:02 a.m. Eastern Time. So, spirit hours. This full moon in Gemini is peaking, and this is our last full moon of the year, according to the Gregorian calendar. And I'm very excited about it because we'll get into all of that. We'll get into all the reasons why I'm excited about this full moon. But of course, the intention for this video is for us to discuss the meaning of this planetary alignment, how it may impact our energy, and identify some practices that we can implement to utilize this energy for our wellness. First, let me just say shout out to the wellness community. I see y'all butterflies in the sky. Much love to my tribe. I miss y'all so much. Y'all. Just a little life update as always. I had traveled to Virginia for my niece's graduation. I'm about to say my sister. For my niece's graduation. My niece, Big Bam, not the little one, she graduated from the beautiful Behold the Green and Gold HBCU, Norfolk State University. So I went up to Virginia for her graduation last week. The graduation was on Saturday, and then we did like a brunch and some things for her, and it was a really, really good time, y'all. Let me say this. Y'all know Mercury is in retrograde, and baby, Mercury was retrograding. You hear me? Mercury was retrograding. If y'all don't know and you haven't seen my previous videos and discussions about it on YouTube as well as on other socials, Mercury is our planet of transportation, communication, technology, and agreements. And Mercury began retrograde November 25th, and it will last until about December 18th, right? So the end of the shadow period for this full moon in Gemini. Gemini is also ruled by Mercury, okay? So we are really, really feeling this Mercury retrograde. My travels home, my flight was delayed 3 times. My original flight was supposed to take off at 4. They delayed it until I think like 7, and then delayed it again until 8. So thankfully, my sister lives like very close to the airport. She like 10 minutes away. So she just came and picked me up because I didn't want to sit in the airport for 4 hours. We get to the house. They moved the flight up from 8 to 7. I've never heard of that. I've never heard of a flight being delayed to 8 or being delayed and then you can move it back up. They moved it back up to 7, but thankfully she lives closer. They moved it to 7:40. She lives close to the airport, so we was able to shoot back over there, got there about 7. When I got there, the plane was gone. Why was the plane gone? The Delta agent said the pilot got on the plane and decided he was ready to go. She said, we realized that we had about 3 planes departing around the same time, and the pilot said that he could just leave now. So they left at 6:49. I said, and mind you, behind her, it still says departing time 7:40. I said, I ain't never heard of the pilot being able to get on a plane and say, I'm ready to go. I don't care who on here. It was a bunch of us who because it wasn't supposed to leave till 7:40. He left at 6:49. It was a line of us who did not make the flight. I said, that's Mercury retrograde for you. Where the pilot could just say, let's go, let's ride. Let's ride. Okay. So thankfully, I was open to it. I said, everything happens for a reason, divine timing. I'm not in no rush. I don't have any obligations. I'm good. So I was real calm. But the sister in front of me was not calm. Okay. And folks handled it in a variety of different ways. But I told the Delta agent, we never know what people have going on. We never know why she's trying to get back to Atlanta tonight. We don't know people's story, so I can't judge her response. We can't judge her response or take it personal. One of the 4 agreements, don't take anything personally. And I bring this up because Mercury retrograde was retrograding. And I kept telling y'all, we need to mind our responses. This Mercury retrograde was really about showing you who you are. right? Showing you who you are. The challenges that was going to come up from Mercury retrograde this time was all about showing you who you are. How do you respond to these challenges? When there's delays in the flights, when there's issues with your car, when there's traffic going on, when there's miscommunication that's leading to like disagreements, how do you respond to these challenges? It's really showing you who you are and what you need to work on, right? And some of the things that you possibly need to release in this full moon in Gemini, you know. So thankfully, I was handling it well. I was very calm and relaxed, and just understanding that it's the flow of the universe. They ended up rebooking me for a flight the next day. My flight the next day got delayed 2 times. Okay, my flight the next day got delayed twice, but thank God I made it safely to Atlanta. My only concern and issue is that the aliens still have not come to pick me up so I could get a tour of Venus. And I'm a little upset about this because I just felt like I met them halfway. I was halfway to space. They could have kindly zapped us up real quick, got me off the plane, gave me a little tour, and put me back. I saw manifest. Flight 828 was gone for 5 years. They didn't have to take me for 5 years. They could have took me for 10 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes, gave me a quick little alien tour of Mars and Venus and put me back on the plane, and we was already delayed. They could have came and picked us up. I don't understand why I'm not good enough. And that is my only concern. I said Mercury was retrograde. Mars is retrograde. Mars is a planet of action. Y'all could have took action. This was the time. This was the time. So I didn't understand. I met them halfway. How much closer do I need to get? I said, I'm a big girl. I don't know if it's a weight limit on the UFO. Do y'all not take plus size people? Do we not defy gravity enough? I'm concerned at this point. So I'm putting in my resume again, filing a petition before I got to affirmative action, something. Okay. I volunteer for tribute. Okay. Y'all looking for somebody to clone? I feel like I'm pretty clonable. So that was my only concern and issue. I was a little upset that the aliens have not chosen me, but that's all right. That's all right. I got another flight I'm going to be catching soon. Come get me. Come get a bitch. Okay? Come get me. Got that? All right. But no. Okay. And then one more. If you saw my socials, I told this story real quick on my socials. But y'all, let me tell you, and then we're going to get into the full moon in Gemini. Again, Mercury retrograde, challenges in communication. I was on my flight. So I'm sitting in seat 1B. In seat 1D, there is a bald white man. Okay, little white man. Okay, 1D. Flight attendant was a beautiful sister. She had a cute little curly hairstyle. So I'm buckling my seatbelt. And I'm overhearing a conversation. And this man tells this sister, your hair is so beautiful. He's complimenting her, telling her how gorgeous she is. Her hair is pretty. Da-da-da-da. Then he says, is that your real hair? Sir, what? The sister was shocked. She took a pause. The flight attendant was like, I looked up. He said, is that your real hair? I had to kindly tap her to the side. Move over a little bit, girl. Because, see, she working. So she got to keep it professional. She got to keep it dignified. She's working. I'm not. She got to keep the poise. I can get real poiseless. She got to be classy. I can get very classless in this first class seat. Move over a little bit, sis. I got this. Tag me in. This is my time, okay? I said, you ain't supposed to ask black folks that. He said, excuse me, you're not supposed to ask black folks that. Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah, you're not supposed to. You can't do that. Don't ask us that no more. Well, I have a daughter. She's in 33B, a middle seat in 33B in the back. She's half. She's half. She's mixed. Because as he's saying this, I'm straight face. No expression. I have a daughter, 33B, middle seat. She's half. Mixed. Because why the fuck do I care, sir? I don't give a damn. If your daughter was mixed, fully black, I don't care. What does that have to do with the fact that I just told you you don't ask black folks if their hair is real? You don't ask us no questions about our hair. You don't do that. I don't care. Straight face. She never told me that. That's what he's saying. She never told me that. My daughter changes her hair every 6 weeks. She never told me that. Oh, well, I'm telling you, you don't ask black folks that. You can't do that. Oh, I didn't know. Yeah, no. Don't do that no more. Don't do that no more. And thankfully, he took it well. He was on the phone. So whoever he was on the phone with is hearing this conversation. He was on the phone. He took it well. We were done. Okay, yeah. And kept on with the flight. The sister kept on working. Beautiful sister kept on doing her thing. Here's my thing. For those of you who don't understand, asking black women specifically if their hair is real is a microaggression. You cannot ask black women if their hair is real. It's a microaggression because you would not see any other ethnicity of woman. You would not see a non-black woman and ask her if her hair is real. If this woman had a curly shortcut, a curly bob type of situation. If you saw a white woman with a curly bob, you would not ask her if it was a weave. If you saw a Latino woman with a curly bob, you would not ask her if it was a weave. You would not ask any other ethnicity of woman if her hair is real. You are doing this because this woman is black. That's a microaggression. You're assuming that it's even possible that this is not real. Your automatic mind went straight to, that's probably a weave. Let me ask her. You would not think that about any other ethnicity. That is a microaggression. I'm not saying you're racist. I'm saying that is a microaggression that's based in being prejudiced, based in having a stereotype about a specific group of people, right? So, and I didn't even explain all of that to him because do your Googles. This is all Googleable. But what I am going to tell you is you can't do that no more. My point in saying this is Mercury retrograde, miscommunication. How we handle things during that time shows us who we are. That situation could have been handled very ignorantly. It could have gotten way out of control. But I was mindful to mind my own emotions, mind how I communicate in this situation, still be very stern, still be very serious, still take the opportunity to correct, but also not being overly aggressive, not being overly just unnecessarily inappropriate, right? But still appropriately handling the situation and nipping it in the bud, right? So I say that because it's important to be mindful that when you have Mercury retrograde, it's a situation again to show you who you are. I used to be a person that would have gotten immediately aggressive, would have immediately accused him of racism, I used to be that Umara Johnson. Okay, I used to be Umara Johnson. I did not play, right? But I have come a long way when it comes to just being mindful of how I communicate things, even when I feel potentially disrespected, even when I feel like people are moving out of prejudice, right? From a space of being prejudiced or whatever. I just kind of learned to just mind my mouth and mind how I communicate, and also giving people the grace to understand that more than likely he did not know, because his mixed daughter, who he had sitting in the back of the plane in the middle seat, probably did not tell him, because it's also not her job to constantly have to educate her white father, right, on how to treat black people. That's not her job. If he is a person who clearly procreates with black people, he should make it his duty to understand how to maneuver as an ally to the community. That is his job to learn that. That is not black people's job to become his mammy. His daughter is not his mammy. But his daughter does have to understand that you need to tell your daddy he got to stop using you as an excuse to say what the fuck you want to say to black people. Girl, your daddy out here using you as an excuse. I said, she probably don't even know that she is the daughter. That he's like, but I got a black daughter. She probably don't even know. You don't know, girl. Okay. Mercury retrograde is going to continue to give us the opportunity to see who we are and show us who we are. Why? Because Gemini is ruled by Mercury. Gemini is ruled by Mercury, and this full moon in Gemini is opposing Mercury retrograde. Mercury will go direct on December 18th. This full moon in Gemini peaks on December 15th. So it will continue to give us the opportunity to show who we are. Now, here's the thing. I need y'all to understand that during this full moon in Gemini, like all full moons are about revealing and releasing. Okay, revealing and releasing. It's also a beautiful time to reflect. One of our main goals during this full moon in Gemini is going to be to reflect on this past Mercury retrograde, how it has impacted us, what were some of our triggers, and how we responded to those triggers. That is going to be one of the main goals. What areas are you proud of yourself for? How did you respond in ways that you can say, I did that, I've come a long way, I'm proud of myself? And what are some ways that you responded that you like, you know what, I still need to work on that? This miscommunication moment happened and it still triggered me, and I kind of want to be better at that. I want to respond to that in a better way next time. This thing happened with my car. This issue came up with transportation and I was really bothered about it. I want to be better with that. So what areas have you grown in and you glowed in, and what areas now need to become healing focus areas? This Mercury retrograde showed us that. While we have this full moon in Gemini, again, peaking on December 15th, within these last few days of Mercury retrograde and going into the post-shadow period of Mercury retrograde, we have to understand that this is a beautiful time for us to reflect on our experiences this Mercury retrograde and decide what triggers and responses that we want to release. That'll be one of our main things that we want to release during this full moon in Gemini. Mercury retrograde was our revelation process. Again, full moons are all about revealing and releasing. Mercury retrograde was our revelation period. It was revealing to you who you are. Oftentimes when we think about releasing, we want to release people and things and stuff like that. But sometimes what we need to release are our own bad habits, our own adverse negative responses, our own triggers, right? A lot of the things that we often need to release are internal, because the internal manifests as the external, right? So when you have a lot going on internally, you have a lot of adversities, you have a lot of trauma that you're still holding on to. You kind of attract triggers of that trauma. You attract triggers of those adverse responses. So you need to release that trauma. You need to release those adverse responses so you no longer continue to attract those things that will trigger it. There is nothing to trigger if you release it. You see what I'm saying? So it's a good time to release those things. Reflect on your Mercury retrograde experience. I want to read this one. Shout out to Still Ripples Coaching. Much love to you, and thank you so much for your donation. I appreciate the love offering. It may be abundantly returned unto you. You said, thank you, Queen. A white cashier asked me if my daughter's hair was real. You know, the interesting thing, y'all, I've never experienced that personally. I've never ran into those types of whites. I also don't be around a lot of whites. Okay, so I've never ran into those types. I haven't. And this was my first time actually. Like I know people talk about those stories of them trying to touch your hair and stuff like that. This is my first time ever experiencing that. And I can't believe that this is just a normal occurrence, like a normal occurrence. So she asked your daughter if your daughter's hair was real. When I looked at her, still like she lost her mind. When I looked at her like she lost her mind, and I told her she was out of order, she says, I have a mixed child. And I'm still like, and that's the sad thing, because why is your mixed child? Why is the mixed child always the excuse? And to mixed children, I'm sorry that you have to experience that. I'm sorry you have to experience being your white parents' excuse to get a pass for their microaggressions. And a lot of people don't even realize. Let me tell you, let me be the first to say, I myself have been a perpetuator of microaggressions. I myself have done it. We all do it. You may not realize it, right? So again, when somebody does a microaggression, it doesn't mean that they're racist. It does mean that they're prejudiced. We all have certain prejudices within us, right? You have to self-reflect to understand yours. I've done it. I've done it, right? To other ethnicities. Okay. I'm just being honest, y'all. I'm just telling the truth. Okay. I'm not proud of this, but I gotta be my authentic self. When I was in grad school, I confused two of the Asian girls. I thought they was the same person. I'm sorry. I thought they was the same person, and it's terrible. And I was so embarrassed. I literally was like, I was talking to one of the girls, and I thought that she was the other girl. And she was like, "That's not me. You were confusing me with the other Asian girl." And I genuinely, to my soul, thought they was the same person. That is a microaggression. That is a microaggression. That is a microaggression. Okay. It's like I said, I've done it. I have done it. Okay. So again, it's not to say that he's racist, is that he's prejudiced. And we all sometimes have certain prejudices, and they are sometimes subconscious, right? You have subconscious biases, subconscious stereotypes, subconscious, assumptions based on ethnicity, culture, race, sexuality, gender, etc. Those are prejudices. But the question is, how do you respond when that's addressed to you, right? How do you respond? When the girl said it to me, I immediately apologized. I was like, oh my God, I didn't even realize it. And then I started self-reflecting, like, why did I think that they were the same person? Did I even bother to differentiate the two? Did I even make an effort? Like, why did I think they was the same person? I started self-reflecting. I didn't say, oh, I have whatever excuse. I have Asian friend. I have, when you make excuses, you're trying to validate your reasoning for doing what you have done. Don't make excuses for it. So that's the crazy part, to say I have a mixed child. So please. Okay, we got to do better. We got to do better. That's crazy. Okay, that is absolutely insane. But anyway, like I said, this full moon in Gemini peaks on December 15th at 4:02 a.m. And it is opposing Mercury retrograde. Now, and again, Mercury is the ruler of Gemini. Gemini is a mutable air sign. Gemini is all about going with the flow. Gemini is all about being free and adaptable. Gemini energy is very much like you can go into any room and fit into that room. You feel comfortable in any space. Gemini is all about being comfortable with who you are, knowing who you are. Also a duality, and not always the duality between good and evil, right? People often think of Gemini as like having the evil twin energy. It's not always about an evil twin energy. It's about a duality of understanding, this is my spirit side, this is my flesh, my ego, my physical, right? Some people say the duality between the mortal versus immortal, the duality between the high and the low, the light and the dark, right? The things that are hidden, unconscious, subconscious, and the conscious mind. So all about the duality of two opposing sides, right? This full moon in Gemini is going to challenge us to really assess the relationship between our physical and our spiritual, our ego and our divine intuitive selves, our Ori. What is the relationship between your ego and your Ori? What is the relationship between your physical self and your spiritual self? How do they align? What is blocking them from fully aligning, right? This is all that Gemini energy. So lately and moving forward, because this is the thing, the shadow period for this full moon in Gemini starts today. And it will last until December 18th, which is when Mercury goes direct. Okay. So for the next week, this is a good time to really pay attention to those moments where your ego are challenged. And a lot of those challenges are going to come from that Mercury retrograde energy. It's going to be intensified. And remember, anytime we have full moons challenge the ego anyway, because our emotions are heightened. Full moons pull at the tide, they elevate the tide, and we are more than 70% water. So our water, our emotion energy is heightened, is elevated. So a lot of your emotions will be triggered. A lot of your emotions will come up, and emotions that you may not necessarily know how to deal with if you have not been doing your work. If you have not been doing your work, but it's not a bad thing. This is just a good opportunity to see who you are, to know what you need to release, to know what you need to let go of, to know what your next healing focus area will be. So pay close attention to the areas of communication, transportation, personal technology, and agreements. Okay. Gemini is all about social energy. Gemini is very communal. So don't be surprised if there's some miscommunication between friends, family members, things like that, that may trigger certain emotions from you, right? Especially emotions centered in past trauma. Okay. Because full moons are all about reflecting as well, the past coming up to the present. So don't be surprised if some of this miscommunication and things like that trigger some of that past trauma. But the question is, how will you deal with it? And dealing with it is not running from it, because that may be something you need to release as well. Running, hiding, pushing things under the rug, that may be what you need to release as well. Dealing with it is facing it and choosing a healthy response. That is the ideal practice. Practicing emotional intelligence, being aware of your emotions, identifying the emotion, naming the emotion, and choosing a healthy response to that emotion. That is what you want to do during this time. But if you find that you acted too quickly, that you move too fast before you can flow through your emotional intelligence steps, that is okay. You needed that to come to your awareness, because that is what you need to release. Okay? That is what you need to release. So that Mercury retrograde opposition to this full moon in Gemini is really going to show us a lot. Okay? It's going to show us a lot during this time. Now, trines bring us harmony. Trining this full moon in Gemini, y'all, there's something in my eye. Okay, it's something in my eye. I might want these little feathers for my earring. Okay, I'm pushing through. Something in there. Okay. But trining this full moon in Gemini, Venus and Saturn, both thankfully both direct. So Venus is our planet of love, of beauty. Okay. Now Venus and Pluto. The thing about Venus is I love Venus energy because Venus is all about sensuality, being sexy, being cute, being alluring. I love Venus energy. When we have a Venus trine with a full moon in Gemini, it is a good thing, because it is going to elevate our relationships. It's going to elevate our partners. It is going to elevate, and when I say our partners, I'm talking about the people that you are in collective with, right? The people who you are in community and tribe with. It is going to elevate your partnerships with people, your family relationships, your friend relationships, your spouse relationships, relationships with your children. It will bring harmony to that. But the thing about it is, I'm telling y'all now, you can't expect everybody to be moving with emotional intelligence. You can't expect everybody to be moving with grace and with love and with understanding, especially if they are not aware of this planetary alignment. A lot of the elevation of your relationships is going to come from you practicing understanding, practicing grace, and realizing that you can lead people into having healing conversations. You can lead people into having wellness centered conversations, even in the midst of disagreements. Right now, y'all, and really moving into 2025, we are in this space where we have to learn how to be in community with people we disagree with. And it is going to start in your household. It is going to start in your family. It is going to start with your tribe. How can you be in community with people that you disagree with? And when I say disagree with, I'm not talking about you disagree about everything. I'm talking about you agree on the fact that you love each other. You agree on the fact that you want people to be well. You agree on the fact that there is mutual energy of respect between the parties. You agree on that. but you maybe disagree about certain other things, about practices and so on and so forth, and that is okay. But how can you be in community with people you disagree with? You may be the person that has to initiate and lead these conversations within your tribe, but that is possible. And I say that because that Pluto is also trining. So Pluto and Venus, both in Aquarius, are trining this full moon in Gemini, bringing harmony. A lot of this is going to give us the opportunity, moving all the way through next year, give us the opportunity to build better relationships, better connections with people in our tribes, with people in our community that we may disagree with about certain things. So you may find relationships are starting to mend. You may find those grudges that you was once holding against people are starting to dissipate. You don't care as much anymore about that argument y'all had however long ago. You don't even remember what y'all was so mad about and what really triggered you. You're starting to release some of the grudges. That is happening during this full moon in Gemini. Grudges are being released. Relationships are elevating because grudges are being released. It ain't that deep no more. It ain't that serious no more. Okay. And it is going to lead to generational shifts. Okay. We have to do better for the next generation. And I'm saying this to everybody who is an adult, everybody who is older. You have to be better examples for your children. Having siblings and things like that, and cousins and whoever that you don't speak to over something little. Okay. I'm not saying that you can't cut nobody off, because some folks need to be cut the fuck off. Some folks need to be cut. Okay, I get it. Some folks need to be cut. But these times where you have these relationships with people that you don't cut them off for something that you don't even remember why you cut them off about, be a better example to the youth in your family of what it looks like to sit down and have a conversation and communicate about your disagreement with love, respect, and come together. Understanding, understanding, and this is that Gemini duality energy. Understanding that I still feel how I feel, and you feel how you feel, and we still disagree, but I understand you, you understand me, and we love each other enough to move forward in understanding. Be that example for the next generation of what it looks like to continue to move forward in disagreement and love each other enough to choose understanding over agreement. I choose to love you and understand you, even though I still don't agree with you. I'm choosing understanding over agreement. I don't need you to agree with me, but do you understand me? And I don't agree with you, but I understand you. And we love each other and we respect each other and we both want each other to be well. Let's move forward. Okay, this is a good time to have those types of conversations. And I think more people will be open to that. Okay, more folks will be open to that. Just bring it into your awareness. Okay, so that is the trine. So Mercury opposing this full moon in Gemini, Venus and Pluto trining this full moon in Gemini. Now, I also want to talk about, we have Neptune and Saturn squaring this full moon in Gemini. Now, squares are our challenges that we need to practice. What are we challenged to do? How are we challenged to be different? How are we challenged to grow in order to utilize this energy for our wellness? Neptune is our planet of spirituality. I already done told y'all, Gemini energy is all about the ego duality, all about the ego versus the spirit. This is going to be a good time to check your ego. Remember, the spirit is to lead the mind leads the body. The spirit leads the mind leads the body. Your emotions are a guide. Your emotions are a guiding tool, okay? If you want to lead with spirit, you have to clear the bridge between spirit and the body. Spirit leads the mind leads the body. Your mind is the bridge. This is the time where you need to heavily focus on clearing that bridge so you can lead with spirit. Okay? Clear that bridge so that you can lead with spirit. This is the time where you are going to see where your ego may be blocking you from moving in spirit, moving in alignment with your Ori. What is your Ori telling you to do? What is your Ori telling you is the right thing? What is your Ori telling you to stay away from? What is your Ori telling you to release, right? And why is your ego afraid? Why is your ego still choosing to hold on? Why is your ego still trying to lead? Okay, so this is the time where you need to do a lot of ego checking. Check that ego, bring awareness to the ego. And anybody who knows it, I have a whole video on the ego. Anybody who knows me, you know I'm not a fan of the whole kill the ego mentality, right? Or ego death. I'm not a fan of that, right? Because we have to understand, and I want y'all to do y'all Googles on the ego. Ego is simply the awareness of self. That's it. Ego is the conscious awareness of self. Who are you, right? Personality, all of that, self-expression, all of that is the ego. The issue is not the ego. You need to be aware of who you are. If you're not aware of who you are, if you're not aware of your value, if you're not aware of those things, you won't have no boundaries. Most people who struggle with boundaries is because they have a poor acceptance and understanding of the value of themselves, right? Most people who are people pleasers, this is because you do not value yourself as much as you value the validation of those other people, as much as you value the wellness of those other people. You need some ego. You need some awareness of self and some awareness of your own value. You need that. So I'm not a fan of killing the ego. What I tell people is you need to learn to mind and control your ego. See, killing the ego is easier than controlling the ego. Killing the ego is the easy way out. You know what's the real work? The real work is learning to mind your ego and have some self-control and discipline of your ego. Know who you are, know your worth, know your value, know your place in this universe, but also equally love everything and everyone else as a valuable place in this universe, just as you are. Discipline that ego. Discipline that ego. A lot of people want to kill the ego because they don't have the self-control and discipline enough to check that ego. Okay? Know who you are, know your value, know your worth, but check yourself. Check yourself. And this is how you lead with spirit. This is when spirit needs to come forward. This is when you choose to check your ego and tap into spirit. What is the right thing to do? Mama Maya Angelou has a saying where she just says, just do right. She said, just do right. Just do the right thing. Say the right thing. Do right. Just do right. Is that the right thing to do? And the right thing to do, and this is the ego check, the right thing to do is not just about what benefits you. It's about what benefits the all. Not just about what benefits you, what benefits the all. And you are included in the all. Okay, so a lot of folks who kill the ego, they do everything for the all. We call those people pleasers. Those are the people who have no boundaries. Those are the people who, oh, I help everybody else and I'm so exhausted, and I save everybody else and I'm so depleted and I have nothing left for me. It's because you have no understanding of your own value and you don't understand your place in this universe as a valuable piece of the all. You're not including yourself in the all. Okay? You need to tap more into that ego. You need to tap more into your own value. You need to tap more into your own self-worth and your understanding of your place in the all. So do more of what benefits the all, but include yourself in that. You deserve some benefit. You deserve some wellness too, okay? Don't deplete yourself trying to save everybody else, because then you project the energy of depletion. You really ain't saving nobody. You working against your own work. Okay, that's the flow. That's manifestation. When you are working from a depleted space, you ain't doing nothing but projecting depleted energy. that's what you are manifesting, right? Because the internal manifests as the external. A lot of people don't understand that flow. So you have to too benefit from the all. But if it only benefits you and it depletes the all, that means that you have no discipline and you need to check your ego. So when you're doing things, when you're speaking and you're moving, and you're only doing that from a space that makes you feel good, a space that benefits you, that means you're moving purely in ego and you're not considering the all. You're not leading with spirit. To lead with spirit means that you understand the value of the all, the infinite energy of one. We are all one infinite energy. So during this full moon in Gemini, you really want to assess your relationship between the ego and spirit. Assess your own duality, your relationship between the ego and your Ori, your highest divine self, in relationship with the universal all, the infinite energy. And the way to do that, I'm giving you the steps now. I've explained what it is. Now I'm telling you how to do that in a simple everyday practice. When you wake up tomorrow morning, or even move throughout the rest of the day, before you say anything, before you do anything, assess your intention. What is the purpose of this? Ask yourself that. That's the first step. Before you say anything and before you do anything, ask yourself, what is my intention? What is the purpose? Then ask yourself, is that right? You'll know it's right if it benefits the all, if it benefits the flow of the universe, and you are part of the all. Does it benefit the flow of the universe? If it doesn't, it ain't right, and you don't do it. And then I want you to keep track of how often you're doing right naturally. How often is it right the first time? Before you was going to say it, before you was going to do it, and you ask yourself, what's my intention? And then you assessed, how does that benefit the all? And it did. How often was it right the first time? And how often do you have to shift and say, well, let me not do that? Well, maybe I need to do something else, because that's too ego-centered. I can only think of how it benefits me. I can't really think of how it benefits the universal energy. I can't think of how others are going to be blessed from it. I can't think of how this is going to be good for the flow of the universal all, the infinite energy. So let me move away from that. How often do you have to do that? Right? That's how you assess your relationship with your ego. This is how you assess your relationship between the physical and the spiritual. How often are you leading with spirit, and how often are you leading with ego? If you find that most of your words and actions are only benefiting self, you're more ego-led than spirit-led. If you find that your words and actions benefit the all more than it just only benefits you, then you're more spirit-led. The goal is always to be spirit-led. Okay, that is always the goal. So that is going to be the challenge. That is that Neptune square energy. That is taking your spirituality to the next level. I'm gonna tell y'all another way. And this is where that Saturn square is going to come in. Saturn is our planet of boundaries and restrictions. Okay, we 42 minutes in. I didn't even realize that we going this time, huh? We going this time. I usually try not to be before y'all long. But this time we going, but it's necessary. Okay? It's necessary. Now, Saturn is our planet of boundaries and restrictions. I'm going to tell y'all now, you may be a little scary. You may be a little scared. You may be a little nervous. A lot of people's, and this came to me. I was meditating on this last night, okay? And this came to me. Thank you, Richardson. I appreciate that. And Marvin, thank y'all so much for the cash apps, for the love offerings. I appreciate that, y'all. I was meditating on this last night, and this came to me, okay? And I got to tell y'all this. A lot of people with this Neptune and Saturn square, a lot of people, your spiritual gifts, Salam, please. I'm talking to the people. Your spiritual gifts are going to go to the next level. And it's going to happen a lot with experiencing spiritual communication in your physical body. In your physical body, it's going to happen a lot with experiencing spiritual communication in your physical body. and specifically dealing in areas of like chills and tingling and things like that. It's going to bring you out of your comfort zone. Okay. So a lot of people will experience an elevation of your spiritual gift that's going to make you uncomfortable. That's going to bring you out of your comfort zone. Like tickles and tingles in the ears, and the almost feeling like shivers or chills, tingling and sensations, almost like a staticky feeling in the physical body. And it's going to bring you out of your comfort zone. But that is okay. That is okay. It's an elevation of the spiritual gifts. It's an elevation of spiritual communication. So a lot of people will be experiencing that over this next week. Okay. And it's going to make you a bit uncomfortable. So that is going to be one of the good challenges. Okay. And the good challenge is going to be your spiritual gifts will elevate. Your ability to communicate spiritually will elevate. You will get a lot more signs and omens from the universe, but how they show up may make you uncomfortable. It will test your boundaries and restrictions. It will test your comfort zone, but it's a good thing. Okay, it's a good thing. The real goal is to assess, what is this trying to tell me? What energy is present around me? Why is this happening to me? Pay close attention to your physical body. Pay close attention to those times where you randomly get goosebumps. You randomly feel like that staticky feeling or chills in the body, tickles in the air, almost like somebody is whispering in your ear. That type of feeling. Pay close attention to that during this time. Okay. Just be mindful. You have to get comfortable being uncomfortable. Okay. In order to elevate your spiritual gifts, there are going to be things that happen to you that are just not normal. Right? They're not a part of your norm. They're new to you. So now you have to get comfortable with your discomfort. Okay. And that's going to be the next thing. Okay. All right. So just be aware of that. It's going to happen a lot with the physical body. It's going to show up in the physical body. That's where you'll see a lot of your new spiritual like gifts, your elevated spiritual gift is going to show up as things in this physical body. Okay. So just be aware of that and get comfortable. Okay. I think I touched on everything regarding the planetary alignment. I talked about Oh, I didn't touch on everything. I talked about Mercury opposing. I talked about Venus and Pluto trining. I talked about Neptune and Saturn squaring. I didn't talk about the fact that this full moon in Gemini is conjunct with Jupiter retrograde in Gemini. And Jupiter is our planet of expansion and abundance, right? This is a beautiful opportunity for new roads to open. So I'm going to tell y'all, you may, because we know full moons are all about revealing and releasing, this is a good time to do a good road opener. Okay. And I'm going to give it to y'all real quick. Okay, so if you are taking notes by hand, you may want to take these quick shorthand notes. And then if you are in the wellness community, you can actually in the search bar just type in road open, okay, or road opener, and it'll come up. I'll try to find it and repost it in the Patreon as well for y'all. But I'm gonna just tell y'all right now, some good herbs for road openers are you can get an essential oil called clary sage. You can use bay leaf. You can use rosemary or thyme. You can use tobacco. You can use coffee grounds, and you want to create a smoke bowl with that. Okay, and you want to move throughout your space, do a cleansing of yourself and your sacred spaces with that smoke bowl. And this is to clear your path. This is to open your roads. Okay. You can also bless your home with gin or rum. If you have it, white rum, bless your home with that. You would use it the same way that you would use water. Okay. So bless your home with that. And you can also wipe it down your door and your thresholds. You can get up those same herbs. You can, so after you smudge with them, you can take the acids from your smoke bowl and you can actually mix that into the gin, or you could take those herbs fresh and you can soak that in the gin or the rum and you can let it sit for a little while and then wipe down your thresholds with that, okay, to be able to open your roads to clear your paths for new blessings and good energy, okay? But you want to do a good road opener and release any blockages that are anything that's blocking you from expanding, from being in your abundance, from taking on new opportunities. So this is a good time for new opportunities to come, but you need to open your roads. Okay. Practice your road openers. And then another good thing to do is you can get a white candle or a red candle, and those same herbs that I gave you, you can put them around the candle, okay, along with some coins, preferably some pennies around the candle. And you can literally write a letter, write a note about your roads being open, blockages being removed. You can list specific blockages that you want removed. They can be fear, they can be a lack of control, they can be anything, any blockages that you are aware of and those unknown that are blocking your roads. You can write a letter asking for those to be removed, a petition for those to be removed, and place them under the candle and burn that candle, preferably for 3 days. It can be a 3-day candle. If you have a 7-day candle, that's up to you, but a 3-day candle is good enough. Okay. So write that, burn that candle, but you don't have to do that. Okay. The smudging is enough. Also blessing the thresholds with the gin or the white rum. You don't have to do that either, but it helps. All right. It helps. And if you want a catalyst, you want something to speed up the clearing, speed up that energy, you can add black pepper, okay, or cayenne pepper. Cayenne pepper. Okay. You can add black pepper or cayenne pepper, but preferably black pepper if you have it. Okay. And you can add that as well. Okay, and that'll speed up the energy. That'll speed up the process. Now, I think I've officially touched on everything. The full moon in Gemini peaking on December 15th with the shadow period that starts today and lasts into the 18th. It is conjunct with Jupiter retrograde. Jupiter is our planet of expansion. I talked about the Neptune and Saturn square. I talked about Venus and Pluto trining, which are both in Aquarius trining. And I talked about Mercury retrograde. Mercury is the ruling planet of Gemini. Of Gemini, and it is opposing that full moon in Gemini. I talked about that as well. Now let's get into these journal prompts, crystals, and herbs, and then we're gonna close out. Journal prompts, crystals, and herbs, and then we're closing out. First journal prompt, okay? And if you are taking notes by hand, you want to take these verbatim. And if you are shorthanding, if you are in a Patreon, you don't need to take any notes. Of course, you're going to have the notes all together in Patreon, in the wellness community. Let's get to it. First journal prompt. How did this last Mercury retrograde impact you? How did you respond to challenges in areas of communication, transportation, technology, and agreements? What were your glowing responses? What were the triggers that led to some adverse responses? And what were those adverse responses? This is your next healing focused area. One more time. How did this last Mercury retrograde impact you? How did you respond to those challenges in the areas of communication, transportation, technology, and agreements? What were your glowing responses? What were the triggers that led to some adverse responses? And what were your adverse responses? This is your next healing focus area. Okay. And that's some of the release work you need to be doing. Second journal prompt. How has your ego shown up lately? How has your ego shown up lately? What aspects of your ego block you from flowing in alignment with spirit? For example, fear, control, doubt, etc. This is what you need to release. One more time. How has your ego shown up lately? What aspects of your ego block you from flowing in alignment with spirit? Fear, control, doubt, etc. This is what you will release. Third journal prompt. I forgot to drink something. When my mouth getting a little dry, I got my chai. Third journal prompt. How can you elevate your spiritual expression aesthetically? And this, y'all, this is all about that Venus, right? That Venus trine. Venus, a part of Venus attribute is beauty, right? Is beauty, aesthetic expression, self-expression. Now, I want y'all to listen to this closely. How can you elevate your spiritual expression aesthetically? Note This does not have to be wearing crystals and dressing in all white. This is about assessing your spirit, envisioning what your spirit would look like in the physical. I'm going to read that one more time. How can you elevate your spiritual expression aesthetically? Note, this does not have to be wearing crystals or dressing in all white. This is about assessing your spirit, envisioning what it would look like in the physical. Now, that is the work. That is the goal of this prompt. Assess your spirit. Assess your ori. If you had to vision what your spirit, what your ori would look like in the physical, what would it look like? And the best way I can describe that is this. Always remember, your ori is an orisha itself. Your ori is your first orisha. Your ori is an orisha itself. So the same way you can vision Oshun, you can visit Oya, you can vision Shango, Ogun, you can vision all of the orishas. Obatala, Yemoja. How do you vision your ori? And that is one way you can elevate your self-expression. Okay? Elevating your self-expression, your spiritual self-expression, your aesthetic spirituality is not always about dressing in all white head to toe and wearing crystals up and down. It's not always about that. How does your aesthetics align with your ori? How does your aesthetics align with your spirituality, your spiritual expression, right? Vision your ori. And how can you elevate your physical expression to align and match that ori? Okay? That's literally the work that I was doing. I was talking about, right? That's that Gemini duality, the physical versus the spirit. How do they align? How do they flow together? Okay? Fourth journal prompt. What is your spiritual language? What are some of your personal signs and omens? In the wellness community this month, we're reading The Alchemist. That's our book of the month. Shout out to The Alchemist. Y'all, our first listening party for The Alchemist, baby. When I say that thoughts and feel session was so good. That thoughts and feel session, next level. That was so good. And this book is just y'all know, if you've ever read The Alchemist, you know it's just filled with so many lessons. And one of the things that we talked about over and over and over was understanding the language of the world and the language of the soul, right? And something that we talked about is how we have our own spiritual language, our own spiritual communication. What does that look like for you? What are your own personal signs and omens? What is your own spiritual language that you have? What certain signs and symbols are for other people may not always be what it is for you. What are your own spiritual omens? What are your own meanings for certain signs and symbols? What is your spiritual language? A sister had mentioned that she likes to make a legend, right? I call it keeping a journal, right? Where I tell people, some folks call it mapping. Some folks, it's different names for it, right? But essentially what it is you creating your own key, your own guide, right? Like a map key, right? You create your own guide, your own dictionary, a spiritual language dictionary is what I like to call it as well, right? What is your spiritual language dictionary? What do certain colors, certain signs, certain symbols, certain omens mean for you that you know for sure? When I see this, this means that. This means this. That is how you understand your spiritual language. So what is your spiritual language and what are your personal signs and omens? Okay. And that's how you understand your own language of the soul. Okay. Fifth journal prompt. What fears or hesitations do you have about your spiritual gifts? What would it look like for your gift to elevate to the next level? And that's that square, okay? That Neptune and Saturn square. What fears or hesitations do you have about your spiritual gifts? And what would it look like for your gift to elevate to the next level? Crystals and herbs, crystals and herbs, 5 crystals, 5 herbs. Okay, now all of these crystals are all about clarity, confidence, creativity, all that Gemini energy. Okay, now with these crystals, you want to meditate with them. You can put them in a spiritual bath. You can also put them around your home. Okay, but I would heavily advise with these crystals specifically, keep them in your bedroom. Okay, this full moon is going to peak during spirit hours, 4 a.m. Okay, so there's going to be a lot of activity, a lot of energy over this next week during that time. Keep them in your bedroom, close to your bed. Okay, moonstone for clarity. Moonstone for clarity. Citrine for confidence and creativity. Citrine for confidence and creativity. Malachite, transformation. Malachite for transformation. Fluorite for spiritual communication. Fluorite for spiritual communication. Serpentine, not to be confused with turpentine. Y'all remember turpentine? the elixir. Okay, it's very healing. Turpentine is an old school root working hoodoo. A lot of the Southern elders would take turpentine for healing. Okay, but this is serpentine. Serpentine is a crystal for releasing blockages, which is good during any full moon, but especially a full moon in Gemini. Serpentine or serpentine, some people like to say. Herbs, 5 herbs. Now, all of these herbs are to enhance divination and spiritual communication. I told y'all we have that Neptune square. Okay, so all of these herbs are for divination and spiritual communication. And with these herbs, you can make a tea, you can make a smoke bowl, but I would highly suggest a tea. Thyme, parsley, lavender, peppermint, and lemongrass. Thyme, parsley, lavender, peppermint, and lemongrass. Y'all know I like to call them kitchen counter herbs. All of these are kitchen counter herbs, grocery store herbs. You don't need to go to a herb shop to get them. Okay, all 5 of those herbs. Okay, make a tea, make a smoke bowl, but preferably I would say a tea to enhance your divination, spiritual communication practices. Okay. I love y'all dearly, family. And as I said multiple times, you should know it by heart by now. This full moon peaks, this full moon in Gemini, mutable air sign ruled by Mercury, peaks on December 15th at 4:02 a.m. during spirit hours. The shadow period starts today, 12:12, and it lasts until 12:18. Mercury, the ruler of Gemini, goes direct on the last day of the shadow period. Okay? Show them who you are. Reflect on your responses to these Mercury retrograde challenges that have been happening over about this past month, essentially. Okay? You really want to work on releasing some of those adverse responses, also releasing some of the blockages, some of the things that are blocking your roads, some of the fears centered around spiritual communication. You also want to release some of that ego mess, your lack of control of the ego. Okay, you want to release some of that as well. Okay, so this is a good time to do that work. I love you dearly. Wellness community. The notes will be posted in the Patreon shortly after this. And I will also see y'all soon for our next listening party for our book of the month, The Alchemist. Okay. And everybody else, I will see y'all soon. I love y'all dearly. Much peace, much wellness, and happy full moon in Gemini, y'all. Much love.